Welcome back to Three Lines TCG, everyone. My name is Jimbo, and today we're just going to do a quick little overview of what all I got this past weekend at the Nashville card show. I normally go for the full weekend, except for Sunday, so usually it's a Friday, Saturday type of gig. This time around, though, I could only go for one day. We just went on the Saturday, and it was really only for 3 or 4 hours. Didn't do the trade night this time, so I've made a couple videos going over this before, so this isn't anything new. I think it's the third video I've made, technically, going over what all I get at these shows. It's a pretty fun series. I enjoy showing off, what I've done, and hopefully I plan to eventually maybe get the GoPro going and potentially film what it's like to actually be at the show from a non-vendor's POV, and then also eventually I do want to become a vendor at one of these shows eventually. So that will be probably future content, potentially, no promises. But it was actually a friend of the channel, Ty, the guy who I've been opening up quite a lot of boxes with recently. We did a couple of the booster box battles, and we have another opening plan, or a couple openings planned later this month. But it was his first time going to this card show. Unfortunately, though, he was not feeling well. He was pretty much sick the entire time, so he got to see a little bit of it. He probably had a good hour of going over to, seeing some of the vendors and going over everything, but I felt kind of bad. It was bad timing for him to be sick, and we were kind of excited for this weekend, but unfortunately it didn't work out quite as we wanted it to. But I will say that in terms of trades, in terms of sales, and some of the cards we picked up, I think we did pretty good. I think we did very good, actually, given we only were there for about 3 or 4 hours, like I say. Otherwise, though, let's go ahead and get right into the video. I'm just going to show off everything that we got this past weekend at the Nashville card show. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start off with the stuff that Ty managed to get while he was there, and you got a nice little Aggron V here. Some of these will be kind of the cheaper cards that we just kind of saw in binders that obviously want to be in his collection, so Tyranitar, obviously big Tyranitar and Aggron fan. And then this was a pretty good pickup. This is we were calling it, actually, the entire show, we were calling it the Sushi Pokemon. There was actually only one vendor in the entire show that actually had this card available, so it was a card that he'd been looking for. He wanted to pull it, but worst case, if he couldn't pull it, then he was going to buy it at the show, and luckily we managed to get it, and it's not in the worst condition. I think we ended up picking it up for about $10, so sounds about right for a nice Tatsugiri there, the illustration rare. Just it's a cool looking card anyway, just in general, just a very nice artwork. And then we got speaking of nice artworks, the nice Chi-Yu EX, very detailed. I think back to one of my early episodes. I think it was when I was talking about my collection, but there's that one guy who just collects fish Pokemon. Guarantee that's in his collection, right? It has to be, because it's such a cool looking artwork. Got a nice Mew VMAX, sorry. I think this was just the trainer gallery card, pretty cheap. And then he's a big Whitebeard fan, so for the One Piece fans, we wanted to get this in English, but to be honest with you, there was only one person really in the entire show, maybe 2 vendors at most that were dealing with One Piece. I knew one of them, so I did some business with him. We sold quite a lot of One Piece cards, and we managed to pick this one up for pretty cheap. I think it was like $3, so that'll fit nice into the Whitebeard collection there. And then his 2 biggest cards that we got, which I may end up being shown on a video, because I did some wheeling and dealing with a guy that I've done previous vendor deals with before, but Ty actually pulled a Greninja, the Greninja from Twilight Masquerade. It's valued at about $270. You could round up to 300, but vendors are going to take 70% cut. So it was about 270, and then I think we sort of settled on like a 240 would be sort of the value. And he really wanted this Magikarp, of course, from Paldea Evolved. It's a fantastic artwork. You got the Gyarados on the top. Big fan of the Magikarp artwork there. But his big chase is the Lugia V, and this is what we ended up doing. We traded this card for the Greninja, and we got some cash in hand. Then we used some of the excess cash from some of the other sales that we got to buy the Magikarp, and then obviously get this beautiful Lugia V alternate art. Another card I actually mentioned to that fisherman collector that might be, would this be considered be part of his collection, because there is an actual fisherman. Although you can't really catch a Lugia with a super rod, he is in the background there trying to just really looking up in awe on the boat there. But yeah, very cool looking card, and obviously a big chase of his. $170, that's a pretty good price. I saw them going for like 200 at a lot of the other vendor shops. And yeah, I mean, realistically, he probably would have spent more than at least another $170 to pull it, and even then, the chances of that happening were probably pretty slim. Because I don't know how much booster boxes are going for Silver Tempest right now, but I imagine they are not $100. I imagine they aren't too cheap. So pretty good pickups for him. That was a pretty fun wheeling deal that, like I say, I'll probably be on a video somewhere. Then these were the ones that I picked up, so I had a nice little sizzle shiny there. And then this was actually a Korean Machoke. The illustration where I've got the English version, a very cool looking card. It just reminds me, I said it before, but it just reminds me of Ruby and Sapphire, the Machoke movers at the very beginning of the game. A very cool looking artwork, probably one of my more favorite modern artworks in the past couple sets. And then this is, I believe this is Skyridge, the Magneton. It's the non-hollow, but it's just a cool artwork. I collect Magnetons, as you maybe know, and it has in the background sort of the statues of the legendary birds, which is sort of a very interesting artwork, and in general, I would need it for the collection anyway, so picked it up. I got all of these, well, bar the first two. I think I got most of these all from the same vendor, a guy that I've done a lot of work with in the past, McCracken Cards. And, he's always good to us, and I feel like we always need to get something off him, because he's always got something worth getting. So we picked up another, speaking of, Magnemites and Magnetons, we got some of the Tops cards. Again, these kind of catch my eye. I don't see these every day, so if I can find the ones, especially the ones I need, like the Magnemites and all the other ones that I'm trying to collect, like, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, and some of the other ones, and I think this one was probably my favorite from the Tops cards, definitely. Obviously, we've got Squirtle Squad. It's a very cool looking card. It's obviously my favorite in terms of starters, but also just I love the concept of the Squirtle Squad, and it actually has him picking up Ash there, which is pretty cool. But it has a little explanation of what it is on the back here, like all these Tops cards do. I won't read the whole thing, but you kind of get the gist of what the Squirtle Squad was. Basically, the renegade group of Squirtles, and then the leader of the gang ended up joining Ash in the show. So, just overall, one of my favorite characters, and obviously one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. So, was happy to see that. I was like, yeah, I've got to get that one. And again, they were pretty cheap, like $4, like I say. Oh yeah, and Onyx, I got an Onyx as well, because I probably one of the only people you've ever heard of that collect Onyxes, but Onyx and Steelix is definitely some of my favorites, and this is pretty cool because it's really early on in the anime, of course, and I like that picture on the left-hand side because Onyx is terrifying, even though pretty much in every game and even in like the TCG, he's not really considered to be a strong Pokemon. He's always like sort of the starter Pokemon, so not the starter Pokemon, but always in the starting area. So, but yeah, I always think he's been pretty cool and terrifying if he existed in real life. So we got a nice Clefable Japanese here. I picked up another one the last show, and it had like 3 big old dinks on the top, like the top half of the card. So it was one of those where sometimes at these shows, you can't quite see in the light how good the condition of the card is. So I'm going to replace that one and replace it with this one, of course, because this one's in a lot better condition. And I had the choice between getting this and like a vending machine Staryu. And I just chose this because the Staryu was in CGC, and I just cannot stand CGC graded cards. So they were both the exact same price. Ironically, it was like a 9.5 and it was $15, and that was about $15 as well. So I was like, I just couldn't do it. I was telling him, I was like, oh, I might do it. No, I couldn't bring myself to buy a CGC card. And then lastly, again, like I said, I didn't get too much, but I managed to pick up this Kabutops. I needed the Japanese version for my Neo Discovery set. And fantastic artwork. I noticed the swirl at the time, but I didn't know it was that sort of prolific, and it's in pretty good condition here. I would definitely call this near mint. The front is very clean, and there might be just a bit of whitening on the top here. Let's take a look. I didn't really get too good of a look, but yeah, just a bit of a nick on the top there, but otherwise not too bad. Again, I would never grade it. The centering is way off on the back there, but for a binder card, of course, it's just chef's kiss. It's a very beautiful card, and like I say, definitely something I needed for the collection. So I'm happy to add a lot of these to the collection. I really didn't spend too much, to be honest. I think I ended the day with about $140, so I did more selling this time, and spent just about 50 there on those cards that you just saw. So nothing too crazy, like I say, in terms of big purchases or anything like that, but we had a lot of fun. Like I say, just 3-4 hours, short and sweet, just kind of like this video. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.